we had 3 people camp down there, and one was Mike Hecro. He was tanning hides, and my other friend was camped there. And here they came zooming up here and said, they had real big eyes and said, "We seen Bigfoot." But he's got 2 black cats with him, cougars. So I said, "Oh, well, aren't you worried?" So I said, "No." Because Bigfoot protects women and children.
Oh,
and especially so
nice.
that no man would ever beat a woman up because she's weaker than him physically. And no man should ever beat a child. And no woman should ever beat a child because they're the children that bring messages from God. So I'm not afraid of Bigfoot. He's here. And he's here to protect us. And he's a spirit. And so he has companions. But the whole world here, in our world, animals have the highest order. We just kind of invaded their space. This land belongs to the wild. And
so let me ask you a question about the culture and extraterrestrials.
Oh.
It's like, because I know in like my grandfather's, he's Hopi, and he's told me about like the star people and stuff like that, and in different cultures I know, like it's not like the way TV makes it, like it's something we have to fear or something like that, but it's just because it's life all throughout the universe. So of course, so do you have any stories about UFO? And I'm gonna tell you something, every night I look up, they keep saying, well, they may be satellite, but every night there's something flying across the sky above us.
Yeah, just about a month ago I seen a UFO. It came along that hill there, and it was really big, so like the width of my finger right here, that's how big it was in the sky. But I didn't go over there to see if there were crop circles. But we do know that they're here, and that they're watching us, over us, and that there's a whole variety of different kinds of terrestrials. But we also know from our ceremonies that star people visited Earth before there was even human life.
Right.
So we know that our holy people who have that communication don't, it's ridiculous for us when, they had to build all these rockets to go to do all this stuff, when we just have to go to a ceremony and offer tobacco. So it's, something that we have, that I'm sure all people have, but I think that the war is over the earth, and there's some things that, some places where humans shouldn't habit, they shouldn't live there, because that's a space that we just seem to have a bad habit of always trashing everything, or killing everything, or manicuring everything. So it's something that we can understand. And I heard a man say that. Russell Means, he was describing how America has a lawn, and that's the last of the Great Plains. So he cuts all this grass down to make sure no Indians sneak up on him. And then we have another story about when, like in Wounded Knee, when we were attacked by federal forces, the marshals believed that there was an Indian behind every tree. So the joke was, the tree is only this wide. That's a whole lot of skinny Indians trying to hide this behind this little tree. So it's psychological warfare, Don't do that on Ashola. But we have a lot of those stories, and I just have a few. But there's a lot of accounts you could get from people if they're willing to share. But what we also know is that Earth is really old, and we're very young compared to how old the Earth is. So, and then we actually have petroglyphs of starmen.
We went to saw some of the petroglyphs.
Yeah, and then one of them that's really unusual. It looks like, because we know that petroglyphs, we made them as children as we were young, and they evolved. Like you take a kid with a crayon and he's gonna mark up the walls, the same thing, but it's cognitive. Up there, abstract becomes a picture with the hand. And so one of the things that I seen was that a priest came, and he wanted to go to this place because the sacred would come and draw a picture on the wall. So they went to a place and had a sweat lodge, and everybody went to bed, but this priest stayed up, and here he started seeing these lights flashing on this canyon wall. So he said, "It's happening, it's happening." So the Indians said, "Oh, go to bed, we'll read them tomorrow." And here it had the whole prophecy of what's going to happen that year. So this one particular petroglyph, they look like the men walking on the moon with the lifeline, the oxygen. And so, you know, we didn't know that was going to happen, but the sacred beings know. So they drew these pictures. So we already knew that was going to happen. And then we have stories of, I met a Alaskan native man one time who told me that they have a ceremony in their igloo, and the igloo is the moon. So they jump up and down on these seal skins, and pretty soon they jump so much and they chant, this igloo turns over, and where they awaken is on the moon. And I believed him, because there's something that we have as native people that is a communication. And if it's for healing and it's going to help humans, then it's there. Should we go to the shade?
Yeah.
When I first seen a wiwila.
What's a wiwila?
A wiwila is
some woman.
No, it's a spring. Wiwila means spring, so they're men who live in a spring. And we were up the creek over here at the grandma's, and we didn't have refrigerators, so what they do is they have a crock pot about this big. That's stuff that everybody fights over, their collector items. Well, we had those, and those went in the creek next to where the spring is, the cold water. So you could keep your butter and your meat and like that. It had to all be put in bread sacks to seal it because we didn't have plastic. So we went down there to get butter in here. I looked across the creek because I seen something move in here. The grass parted, and here a little face appeared about this big, and he was a real old man, and he was watching us. So I was looking at him too, and the other kids seen him and they said, "Wiwila!" and they ran, but he got scared of us, so the weeds closed and he took off running. So we seen him then, and then there's another spot up here where the ground is cold. So where that spring is at, if you find the spring, they're just clues if you're ever out here and looking for good water. You just carry a pipe with you, and you can put it in there, and you can make a water spout. So there's a spot down here where we do that when we get thirsty. So it's ice cold, the ground, and then the spring comes from under, so that's where we would swim. And here I noticed that there was something happening over here, and they're called kid fox plums. They only grow about this high. And the kid fox, that's where they lay. If they're out hunting, they could eat those plums. And they're really sharp, so you don't want to get in there because they'll really scratch you up. Here I noticed something was going on, so I peeked in. And here they were little people, a little family inside there. But they turned and they looked like they just became grass. So the story of how they came to Earth was medicine man showed me where the beehive constellation is. He said in that area their sun died out, their proto-sun. So they came down to Earth. And how we got to know about them, and we still do that. We still practice our customs even though we're modern. I never go to the creek after dark because that's when they come out and play.
Are they dangerous?
No, they won't bother you, but they'll paralyze you. So you just can't move. But that's their time when they come out, so we don't disturb them then. And when our hand pump would break when we were kids, we'd have to get water. And I always dreaded. I made sure I was in that creek and out of there before the sun went down, because I always imagined all these little men chasing me and like pulling me in the water. Kinds of little nightmares I'd have. So I'd be running with these buckets up the hill as fast as I could. And then another time, and so I seen them there. And another time we were playing hide and seek here, and we played this game, and it's let me see your hand. It's a game that's really old, and we just deciphered it. You go like this, and it's called Catch the Bear. So it's Inca, Ponca, Soto, Dakota, Dase. So this hand goes out. Put that out. Okay. And so when you play this, it's Inca Panca Soto Dakota Dase. Inca Panca Soto Dakota Dase. So we play this, and the last one that has the hand is the bear. So that's the one that has to, we chase the bear. So the bear chases everyone, and whoever it tags becomes it.
All we had was Johnny struck the match, and the match went. I remember that Johnny struck the match, and the match. Y'all remember that?
No, never heard that.
West side of Chicago, sorry.
So anyway,
this is thousands of years later, you know.
but what's really amazing is that this game survived for so long because we have the skull of the Inca, which gives us night vision, and the Inca live in Peru, and we're the same people, and they do the same stuff we do, but we came back to the Black Hills. So these four people, this game, Incas, Pancas, Soto, are the ones that became, they're Lakota, that got all the way to Canada, and they live in a land where it's smoky. That's what that means, Soto. It's smoky looking, fog, and Dakota is us, and Dase means whatever, whatever, Dase. And I don't even know if it's a real Lakota word. It might be Mayan or something else, Dase, or French. But
I was just about to ask you about Mayan.
yeah, so anyway, that time we were playing, and I went running around the house, and here there was a little man there. And I screamed, and he screamed, and he went that way, and I ran for the door, and everyone beat me to the door. So they made us quit playing tag after that. Or they were fair. I didn't have to always be the bear. So they come and play. And then we have little bitty ones too. We have little fairies that are about this big.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, they're fairies, and children are the ones who see them. And as we get older, I guess we probably get attached to material things, or so we lose that eyesight. But they live in the top of the teepee poles. They have a little nest there, and that's where they live. And I have twin boys and a youngest son. My twins are 24 and my youngest son is 21, and they were in a teepee in here. My youngest son said something kept stinging him in the face, so he thought it was a fly. And here he like felt something, so he opened one eye, and here he said it was a little man, all dressed in little buckskin clothes, clear down to little bitty braids, little moccasins. And he'd pick up hands full of sand, and he'd make a face and just throw it at him. So then he turned around and got some, and he was doing that to his brother's face. So his brother was flinching like that. So he said he reached over and he said, "Yeah!" and tried to grab him in here. What they do is they turn into a little stick. Just a little stick, and they take off like this. Because I seen them when I was little too. I came back from school, I was about 8 years old, and in our kitchen we had a big cook stove, and my great-grandma was, she'd get cold. It was our only heat, so she had a bed in the kitchen. And so I remember I come in from school, and I was real tired, so I laid down, and my mom had a skillet of fried potatoes. And here, I thought I seen something that was red. There was a little man, but he had a little miniature red vest on. It was real tiny, and he was kind of dressed real fancy. And I remembered seeing some cloth. I think my mom, she'd always give me her cloth fabrics, and I remembered that fabric was gone. I thought, I bet he stole it. And here that little man was standing there, and he was eating fried potatoes out of that skillet. And one of these days, I'm an artist, I'm going to draw that, because I seen it. And so what I did was I opened my eyes real big, and here he seen my eyes open, and that's what he did. He turned into a little stick and he flew out. So, so I had a real wonderful little child world. Got to see all kinds. We didn't have TV, so all these spirits would come entertain us. And then there's one that's as big as an inch. And that one doctored me. I was real sick. I had an operation and I was real sick. So my back hurted. I put my mattress on the floor, and I had pink concho earrings on. And here my earring fell off, and I remembered really having a bad fever and sweating. And here I kept feeling the wind, like an oscillating house fan. and I heard a man singing, but it sounded like he was real far away. And then I'd feel that fan. So I opened my eyes, and here on my earring was a little bitty man. And when he'd go like this with his little fan, eagle feathers, he'd make this big wind, and he was cooling me off. So the next day I got up, I was wow. Nothing wrong with me. Pain was gone. And so I have a lot to be grateful for. All the way from little bitty guys to giants. There's giants too. And the one that I always seen, they call him Wanari Hanska. It's tall ghost. And he's a protector of children. So they still live on the earth, but they're spirits, so you don't really see them. But I seen him several times, and sometimes he's around. But one time I was in Nashville, Tennessee. I was going out to look at a Choctaw site under the full moon in here. We looked over, and the trees are shorter. They're not this tall because they're mostly oak trees. And here this giant was just walking by like this, and the top of the trees was below his hand. So I told my friend, I said, could you see that giant walking over there? And he said, yeah. And here one of those helicopters that don't make a noise came up from nowhere and spotlighted us and chased that giant. And we could see it. It was going downtown. So these guardian spirits still guard this land, because there was a reason they were put here. And even though they're not physically here, they're spirits here. So they guard the weak and the helpless.
So are you saying the helicopter saw the giant?
Seen it? Yeah.
How?
I don't know, just probably with his eyeballs too. They seen it. He showed himself to them. So they chased him. But we never heard anything if that helicopter crashed or whatever. But for some reason they're in cities, you know. I see strange things all over this country wherever I go. And then, but it's because I'm different, you know. I make myself aware of things.
You're open to it.
Well,
a lot of people aren't open to it. They don't believe it, so they stay close to it.
Well, I think that people try to, I guess, make the natural world to where they can understand it. And the world is really old. But the other thing that's really amazing is I believe that T-Rex that they have in Chicago, that spirit walks around. Because when we found it, it was in that Geological Institute in Hill City. And they didn't know if she was a female then or not. And I freaked out when I went in there, because we have stories of dinosaurs chasing us and eating whole villages of us. And so I believe that. Because we have a word for every kind of dinosaur that exists. Like the Niobrara River, that's named after the Triceratops. And the original word is Neopacha Yamni, but the R was French. So it's Niobrara, but it's Neopacha, because the R is a cha sound in French orthography. And then we even have petroglyphs that show the dinosaur tracks. And then there's a lot of petroglyphs that were spalled in the 40s, whole sections taken out, that are sitting in a museum. But when we found that T-Rex that day out, it freaked me out. And then I seen the Triceratops head. It was huge, and its horns were like this big. And we have stories of them. So recently a friend was telling me that they found in Colorado Springs, the T-Rex footprints were at the same level as human footprints at 900,000 years, and at the last part of the Jurassic into the Cretaceous time period. And so now they're looking at rewriting their findings, because we have stories, and people in Africa have stories, people in South America. So for some reason they were in these countries, but not so much like in Europe. And it was probably because of, sheets of ice covered that continent at the time when they were still alive. So we have really old stories But I came back from there and I remember just really wiping myself off thinking, oh my God, I have dinosaur dust on me, ooh, yuck. And here I had a dream that there were maybe about 20 of us kids playing in the Black Hills, and it didn't look like how it does now in here. We heard booming, so we looked out into the prairie, and here it was ocean, inland sea. And here there was like 10 T-Rexes coming towards us, so we were scrambling up these cliffs, and we were trying to find like these, they looked like they were formations, like somebody dumped mud. So we were trying to get on the other side of those, because what the dinosaur does is his vertebrae is this big, is he whips with it, that's how he kills. And his hands are right here, so he can't do nothing with these. So he kills with his tail and then breaks bones with his jaws. So that was my dream, and I remember just scrambling up and finally hiding, and these dinosaurs were breaking rocks. And here one was coming, so I threw myself out in here. I threw myself out of bed. So I hit the floor and I got up, and here I could hear booming. And it was loud. It was shaking the house, like the windows. Going boom, and then a rattle. So I ran to my window and I looked out, and here across the way my uncle was watching television. You could see the television on, the glow. Here that dinosaur spirit was standing there peeking in, watching TV. So I went and I sharpened my knives. What else did I have? So where's all those arrows? So we had 3 gifts that came to us in the time of the dinosaur. One is the drum, because it calls the thunders, and the gourd, because when you shake this gourd, this dinosaur has a little brain, so it rattles his brain and he goes crazy. And then the eagle bone whistle, because it breaks the sound barrier, so it can crack that dinosaur's thinking in half, and he'll commit suicide, basically. So those 3 gifts came to us, and all the tribes have them. The gourd, the eagle bone whistle, and the drum. Yeah, so then in our story of the annihilation, there was actually 2 in the cleansing, as all the insects in the world got together and they decided to clean the world, so they created these big winds, and then the wind is what actually moves the bottom layer of sand at the bottom of the ocean. That's how you get the warm temperatures up north. So they created this huge tidal wave that went around the earth like this and cleaned everything. And our story is the great race and the flood. And after that, meteorites bombarded the earth, volcanoes erupted, and it just started with one little butterfly and one dragonfly. And we have a word for that. So the butterfly is kimimila. It's the cocoon. Kimimi, it makes a wrapping around it. And the tuswecha is the dragonfly. The wayancha is the lightning bug. And then the techmuga is the one that makes a vibration. So these 4 were the ones that did that. So they communicated, and so you better be nice to butterflies, dragonflies, and houseflies, I guess. Yeah, that's why they tell us you shouldn't kill things unless you're gonna eat them.